All right, welcome everyone. Thanks so much for coming by. We're going to have a great time together. We're going to paint this beautiful seascape painting with some new paints that we have from Winsor & Newton. And we're going to kind of just share the colors a little bit here. These are Revival colors, and I just recently got this in the mail from Winsor & Newton. And I created a swatch from those colors right there, and I created this, and I said I'm going to order the paints because these look just tremendously beautiful. The paints came and I created a palette like this, so you're going to see everything here on this video. I'm going to have this palette on camera at all times while we create this beautiful seascape painting in the same style of like Winslow Homer and Whistler, the great Old Master painters. And again, we'll just delve into these beautiful colors, mix them, create this painting. I'll cover every detail that I can for you, and we'll have fun, and we'll get started in just a second. All right, so we're going to start our pencil sketch. We just saw the finished painting. I would say, why not? Let's use a ruler here. I'll just measure this quick here. I'm just really looking for like a 1/3 up from the bottom for the land going across and the distant ocean. So if I just take a quick measure here, let's see what we have. 2 inches. All right, so I'll come over here and hash mark 2 inches here. I could also use my metal ruler, so 2 inches there, 2 inches there, make a mark there, so I have 2 hash marks at 2 inches above the bottom of the painting, and then I just do a light pencil sketch. I'll do it darker for you, but at home you do it really lightly. You wouldn't do it really darkly and press hard on your pencil. You would just do a very light sketch line across. But I'm going to go darker so you can kind of see the pencil line across here, which is 2 inches up from the bottom. And I think my total paper is a 6 by 8. So it's 6 high by 8 wide. And once we have that established, our distant horizon line of the ocean and land, we're really all set. The rest is going to be kind of more simple. We're going to get our land and trees over here, so I'm just going to get some trees going over here. And I think there's a building down here along the water. So we're going to make a building down here. Like that. And then we'll make another smaller bit of land over here, trailing down to the distant ocean. And then we're going to have a little bit more land over here too as well in the far distance. So it's going to be very, very small. I'm just making very small, tiny rolling hills. There might be a little bit of an island over here, maybe somewhere. There's kind of like an island, but then it goes back down again like that. Okay, so this is closer to us, and then this out here is further in the distance. So the way we would create three-dimensional quality here and distance would be making these trees larger and making a definitive house structure or building structure so that we can see that in our drawing here. And then sure enough, over here you're barely seeing any details, just the far distant rolling hills and a little bit of some trees and maybe just a little something there, so we kind of feel like there's another city across the ocean area here. Maybe this is along the shore, and we're doing a little bit of improv here. But we're going for that historical look of like one of the old master paintings by Winslow, Homer, Monet, Whistler, all these great artists of many years ago. It kind of just, it's exciting because we can use these new colors here that Winsor & Newton's created for us to kind of recreate those looks of those really beautiful paintings that the great old masters created. So we're going to continue on here, and I think at this point I will notice that there is a bit of land over here too, closer to us. This is actually quite close to us here, and it goes across like this to probably about the center of the painting on a bit of an angle. And then there's some more. So I'm kind of just trying to get some pencil lines in here. I'm hoping you can see these, but we're going to paint them in anyhow, so you'll see them. I'm clearly going to make these sandbars and things like that, and these sandy sections. I'm going to make these with like a darker wash of paint, so you'll definitely see them. No questions asked. And then here, this comes down to about here, so I'm just kind of showing you some waypoints here. So you kind of have a long, very slight angle sandbar here, and then you have another sandbar going this way here into the center of the picture, approximately the center of the picture, this way. So it's almost like a V. And then this is sand over here, and water here and here. So I think that's all we really need. We're going to have some clouds, some cloud shapes. You can always very lightly sketch a few cloud shapes if you wanted to, just to kind of give yourself an indication of where you might like to put a few clouds. So I'm going to put a few clouds up higher in the painting here, maybe, and then maybe a few over here, and then one across here, the center of the painting maybe. So we'll do something like that, but I'm going to keep the sky really loose. I always find that if I keep the sky really loose and easygoing, and I don't do too much fussing around with it, the sky tends to look really good, and it comes out looking realistic somewhat and, you know, pleasant looking. Whereas if I'm doing too much planning and too much work on my skies, they tend to look less enjoyable and pleasant and pleasing looking when the final painting is done. So that's why I kind of mention it as, you know, I'm going here, just to let you know I do loose skies. You probably, well, if you're just brand new here, welcome, and I'm thanking you for, you know, for coming by. You're at the right place at the right time here on my channel. We do everything watercolor. We cover all your subject matter you would love that watercolor artists always do from time immemorial. Seascapes, boats, city scenes, landscape paintings with big trees and mountains, and we do some beautiful flower paintings and still life paintings, and even some portrait painting once in a while, and some figure painting. So we do everything classic watercolor here on my channel. So you're at a perfect place, and I always cover all the fundamentals each time we're getting together and we're creating a painting. I'm going through all the fundamentals that you'll need to just sort of if you hear it over and over again and you tune in each week as we're painting, because we're here every week painting, you'll just get used to all of the steps and methods and techniques in watercolor. I also have my book. I hope you'll check that out. I have a 2-minute video that covers each page of my book, so you'll see that I have over 65 of my best paintings in watercolor in my book, as well as all the explanations of how I painted them, and as well as in the beginning of the book, the first quarter of my book is spent on the fundamentals of watercolor painting, the exercises and the main details of what you kind of need to get started, and really it'll take you a long way if you're just getting those first basic fundamentals when you start watercolor. So we have everything we need here, so stick with us here, stick close. We're having a lot of fun, and you can just enjoy it, and you can tune in anytime you want. And if you subscribe on the right hand side below, all that means is you'll just be notified each time we create a new video by YouTube, and that's it. And so you just join along when you want to. And when you see the paintings, I always put my paintings on my thumbnail on my videos, so you know exactly what we're doing. You can look at it and say, ah, yes, I want to paint that seascape. Or I don't know about seascapes. I think I'm going to do the flowers that I saw last week. I forgot to tune in on that one. I'm going to go back and check those out. So you paint what you want and enjoy the process here as we go. So we're going to take a quick break, and then once we get back from our break, we're just going to do a beautiful start to this painting. And I think I'm going to paint this one alla prima all at one time, and you'll see how fun this is. And again, we're using these beautiful Winsor & Newton archival colors. And we covered this in the beginning just for a few seconds or so, but these are the colors. I got this from Winsor & Newton when I bought some regular paint, stock paint that I buy all the time. They just sent me out a little swatch here of the colors, the revival colors, which are historical colors, again, from when the great masters painted. A lot of these colors are derived from that. So they're trying to give us the advantage to painting those great old master paintings, the Winslow Homer paintings, the Whistler paintings. You could just name all the great artists you can think of that painted watercolor in history, and a lot of them were using these colors. So, and then I just created this swatch here, the 8 colors. I just used this color here and painted these in, and I got these colors and said, wow, they do look fantastic. I'm going to definitely, I purchased the paints. We have them here. I just did a review on them, so if you want to check that out, the other video we just did yesterday, actually. So, and we covered all the paints, we covered the swatches, we made some larger swatches, and we even did a couple compositions. So, all right, we'll be right back. I just want to take a quick break, and then we'll start this painting. All right, so let's get started with the painting. I'm probably going to use my number 5 travel brush here, my Da Vinci travel brush, to start out here with the land. And let's see what we have here. I'll pour out. I always start out with fresh, clean water, and I empty my water bucket a number of times as I'm painting, especially if I'm using a lot of colors and things, and doing a larger painting. But even a small painting like this, I'm going to change out my water in my water bucket 2 or 3 times probably. And let's get some color out here. So again, I made this. It's always good if we're going to start out with some new colors, just to have. I'll probably keep this palette, and I'll use it occasionally here and there as I'm working on some creative paintings, doing some of the Old Master Style paintings. Again, by like Winslow Homer and James Abbott McNeill Whistler and different artists like this. So I'll keep this, and this way I can kind of memorize the names of the colors too. So this one is Oswald Gray up here. So maybe I'll just take a little bit of each of these and put it. Each time I go back into the water bucket, I'll rinse off my brush, dry off a little bit of the water, and I'll come into my next color here. I'll just get a little bit out on the palette like that. I think this can be good to do. Get some color out on the palette. Next one would be Mineral Gray. So we started out with Oswald Gray, Ultramarine Ash. Now we're working on some Mineral Gray, which is kind of a warm gray. You can see that. It's kind of a warm looking gray. Like that. And then we're going to go into the 2 greens we have. The Viridian Hue. And we'll put some of that in our palette. And then we have the Cinnabar Green. We'll put some of that there too. And then we're going to have some of our, I guess it's Tyrian Purple. That's a really beautiful looking purple, I'll tell you that you can't mix that on your own. I think you need to have that. That's a good one. Beautiful too, this one here. This is the Aurelian Hue. That looks similar to cadmium yellow. It's in between a cadmium yellow and a cadmium yellow lemon. And then we have a really beautiful orange here. This is Fields Orange, kind of like a pumpkin color orange, or similar to a pumpkin. It might be a little bit toward the orange, toward the red a little bit, but that's a beautiful orange. All right, so we have all our colors right here. And what we'll do is we'll start working on our land. So our land over here, it's going to be a little more, let's see, we'll use some of this green, some of our ultramarine ash, a little bit of yellow, I think. So what we can do is when we make our colors here, let's keep some identifiable colors. Let's not just, I would say let's not just mix everything like, you know, swirl it around, swirl it around. Let's leave some identifiable colors. We have a little bit of orange here. We have that here. Then the yellow and the green over here with some of the Otswald gray. So if we can do that, we're going to be really at a real good advantage here. So I'm going to start putting in some of that green, Otswald gray. It's going to be kind of a grayish, rainy day. So we're not going to want to go with really a lot of, so we'll use some of our ultramarine ash and mineral gray. To get ourselves some really nice color here. And that is looking good. We got, but we are using some of the warmer colors like the oranges and yellows here because it's closer here. The landmass here is closer to us. And then as we get further out in the distance, we're going to use more of a cooler color because you always, as watercolor artists, we always kind of remember that motto that, you know, as things go further in the distance, they get cooler. So that means we would add cooler colors to things if we're painting them in the distance, like blue. So you'd add blue to your colors as you're making something farther away in your painting. Even sometimes if it doesn't look like that, you'd want to probably paint it that way because it does enhance that look of distance when you add some blue. So I'll put a little bit of the green in there. That's a pretty strong green. So I use that sparingly, but that looks pretty good there. And I'll leave some, maybe we'll put some dark ultra, that's some Otswald gray. We'll do some Otswald gray here for some darks here. And I'm using Arches rough paper, the orange cover. Okay, so we have a little bit of landmass over there, some trees, some shrubs, a structure there. It looks like a boathouse maybe. And that's good. We'll keep this painting really simple. Let's not you know, overthink things or, you know, try to, you know, razzle dazzle ourselves here and try to get too fancy. Let's have a fun time painting this and just keep it minimal. Let's keep this minimal. We're going to let the colors in this painting kind of like take over and just wow us, you know, the colors and the washes, and not so much the techniques or the how fancy we painted something with a structure or a tree or something like that. Let's just keep it easy and simple. All right, so now again, we're painting this alla prima, so everything at one time. I'm not really going to do any glazing techniques. I'm just going to paint the darks first. That's what I'm really kind of doing, taking the darkest darks that I see in the painting and getting them in first. And then now, as we're working into the distance, I do see that cooler gray in the distance there, where the distant hills are. Okay, so that's why I'm going to take some of that and even a little bit of purple. So what I'll do is I'm going to also, since we did use Tyrian purple here in this mix for this distant mountains over here, I'm going to actually add it over here too. So we always want to remember to add, if you're going to put purple in these distant mountains over here, please put some over here too, so that you see a little bit of that purple over here too. Okay, and then now we'll do that. Now we'll come over here with that purple, and we'll mix it in with some of that gray too. So we don't want to make it like just a one color type of thing. Let's mix and modulate the colors. You'll hear me say that in my videos a lot. If you're new here, you'll see that I will mention this over the time that I've been on YouTube for many years now, that we modulate our colors. It gives the painting more excitement. So I'm going to change slightly the color as we go across here in the distance. And I did the same thing over here. You can see I changed all little variations like this using all these colors that I mixed over here, and it gives it much more of a pleasant, pleasing looking effect for that land mass here. The rookie mistake is to go in here and just paint it one color. Say, oh, I know that looks like green. That's trees, green. Boom, pick up green, put green, and paint the whole thing green. That's, that's fine if you're just starting out and you're, want to just practice a little bit. I'm not going to say that's okay. That's okay. But then once you start kind of painting for a couple weeks or a month or two, then you start going, I'm going to add different colors like this. I'm going to mix out on my palette some different variations of some colors that I'm going to start with when I start over here, and then I'll just use them all and I'll kind of just mix them in and get that nice, like, pleasing looking variation in colors and textures and tonal value too. There's some darks and medium tones in there. Okay, so now we have that. We're in good shape. And I would say I'm probably going to do the sky next, I think. And some of the water in the foreground here. So that's what we'll do next. Again, I'm going to take another quick break here. We did do some work here. We worked for the last 10-15 minutes on our land masses. Let's it's always good, stretch, get a glass of water, your favorite beverage you like to have, coffee, some tea, whatever it is. Have a little beverage maybe, take a 5-10 minute break, and then you come back and we'll start working on the sky, okay? And I'm going to do the same thing. I'll be right back. All right, so now we're going to work on the sky washes right, at this point, and I just changed my water out in my water containers so that I have fresh, clean, crystal clear water, and I have a little bit larger brush here, and what I'll do is I'll maybe just take the clean water, so I'll just dip my brush in the water, and I think what I'll do is I'll just start putting some fresh, clean water on the paper, here and there, not everywhere, so I'm going to do it kind of like a hit and miss. Not everywhere, so I'll skip a few spots, come across here. I just want to add a little bit of water, fresh, clear water, in a few spots here and there in the sky, toward the upper portions of the sky up here, like in this section here. I'll leave this dry. I won't really add much water there, I think. I'll just kind of leave it up here. And I'll go a second time because the water does kind of soak into the paper a little bit, so I want to just get that going there. Okay, so now we have some water on there, and then we're going to let that sit for a second or two, and then we'll start getting some clouds here. So we're going to mix our Otswald gray here. We're going to have some gray clouds, some bluish ultramarine ash here, some of that bluish color here. And then we will use some of these colors too for our clouds, just to sort of a little bit of purple, and then of course some orange and yellow here like that. So we're going to use a little bit of all the colors, but mostly let's start out with our grayish Otswald gray and our ultramarine ash, and then a little bit of the that would be a mineral gray. Okay. And now that if you can see this now, how wonderful watercolor is, you let it do the work. Let it do the work for you. Don't force it, rush it, overwork it. Let it just happen as you go. Put that little bit of fresh, clear water on there, and look at how good that looks. You just touch the paint to the paper with your brush. Maybe we're gonna go like the wind in the sky, and just do some beautiful. Just hold the brush lightly and just barely touch the paper and go right across the watercolor paper like that. Leave some white paper there like we did. Maybe we'll make it a little bit darker up top, so a little more of the Otswald gray and ultramarine ash. We'll make it a little bit darker there like that. A little bit darker up top. And again, it's going to be like a rainy day. It's maybe overcast, some drizzle, clouds, that beautiful kind of rainy feel for the day, like that. And we could add a little bit of this orangey color here at the bottom, right along the land and ocean, just so we have a little bit of that warm color along the bottom of the sky. And that's what we're looking for. And then you can even mix in a little bit up top, some of that orangey color, a little bit, that kind of like peach orange kind of color, right? You mix it up in the sky a little bit too. If you get a little too much in the sky with something like that, no problem. You just take a tissue or paper towel quick and you just blot up a little bit like this. And it actually looks good too. If you do a little bit of blotting with your tissue, you can get some kind of cloud effects, which look good. You can kind of take your paper towel and push it down and twist it like that, and you get some cloud effects. So you can have a fun time doing some real easygoing skies like this. And it only took us a few minutes to do that sky. And then you can even just infuse a couple little bits of brush stroke like this, just to get a little more excitement to it, so it's got some more movement to it. But that's about it. That's all we want. That's all we want to do. We don't want to get too complicated with our skies. Let it just happen. Let the water kind of mingle with the paint, and just, you can see how that went really fast and really quick, and we didn't do a ton of overworking to that. Then what we'll do is we'll go into the water with those same colors, and maybe we will add a little bit of, I wouldn't add much color once you have your sky wash in. I'm just adding a little bit of purple, but I wouldn't do that. Actually, try to have that already ready to go and have that going in as you're doing your sky, because sometimes if you add color and washes to your sky, once it's on the paper and kind of starting to set up and dry, you can make some funny looking splotches to it, and cauliflowers and blossoms and blooms can happen if you add washes to something that's already been, once you've added a wash like this that we just did. But I did it really quickly though. As you can see, the purple, I put it in real fast, but that's it. I can't go in and do any more work to the sky right now, but I will go in and we'll do some work to the ocean. So now we're going to do some beautiful work to the water, and some of that ultramarine ash, which is kind of a blue. So I'll mix some of that. Okay, very lightly. And so we're just going to be kind of like taking what's up in the sky and reflecting it down in the water. And you can blot up a little bit if you want to make it lighter. The water seems to be pretty light here, like that. And then we'll do some beach sand, which is kind of the yellow and the orange, like that. Wow, how easy is that, right? So we've got a beautiful seascape here. We're using rough paper, so that gives us that sand feel texture, right? So everything's working really well for us here. We're letting the paint and the paper and everything do the work for us, and we're not overworking anything. And then we can blot up a little bit too, like that. And then maybe we have a little bit of the orange and yellow again for that beach sand kind of look. And we'll do some of that beach sand coming out here. We have some sandbars there like that. So let's get that lighter sand, right here across there. Right across all the way. It's kind of a nice feature of the painting, is having some sandbars out in the ocean area to kind of tie everything together. So you're kind of having the sandbar go out here and kind of reach out and be touching these coastal areas over here. And it kind of holds everything together really nice. And what we'll do next is we're going to let this dry now. So that's another thing too. We're going to want to go over with a little bit of a darker grass color like this here and there for our sandbar. And we could put it in now. Let's try it. Let's see how it works. Maybe we can do it now. Okay, yeah, that's working. That's working good. Some grass here, some seaweed and grass and things. Just a little bit though, not too much. Like that. Yeah, that looks really good, doesn't it? It's a little bit of a darker tonal value. And also it's going to come, you know, jut out here into the across here like this. So I think that looks pretty good. I think we might be finished here. We might have everything completed. All right, you know what we'll do? Again, I'm going to take another quick break. And what I'll do is while I'm on the break, while we're taking our break here, let's come back before we start doing any more work to this. Let's come back and just take a look at this one last time before we say it's a finished painting. And you can always come back a day or two later or a week later and add a few things in. Maybe we'll add some figures. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do. Let's let this dry 100%, and then we're going to add a few figures in here for sure. And we'll also maybe think if we need to add anything else, but I think we might be pretty much good. Just a few figures in here to give it some excitement, some happy feelings of people walking around on the beach, along the ocean here, and maybe a boat or something too, a boat or two, some sailboats or something out in the ocean. I think that's going to be good. We can add those few things, and then I think it'll be a complete painting. All right, so let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back. All right, so we're going to get back started again. Awesome work so far, everyone. Let's just do a few figures. I think that'll really be enjoyable to see some figures here. We'll do it close by over here. So we'll take some purple and some maybe orange too. And so we have a good color there for the figures here. We're going to put a couple figures over here maybe. And some shadowing underneath. And I try to roll the brush a little bit to get that really nice fine sharp point. A few figures is perfect, right? Just a couple there. A little bit of shadowing under there maybe. And maybe we'll do a boat, a couple sailboats maybe might look good. Definitely that would look good. And then I'll just try to maybe find a spot. Maybe here might be good. Maybe a sailboat here, just a real small one like this. And I rinse off the brush, dry off a little bit of the water. Roll my brush around, get a nice super sharp point on my brush, and just get that nice shape of a sailboat. You can always blot it up a little bit, make it a little bit more, mellow looking, so it's not too you could even add some white. Titanium white is always so I use some titanium white. I add a little bit of that orangey color. to the top of the paint, just so it has a little bit of a tint to it. Dry off a little bit of the paint. Maybe another sailboat over here. Then I'll rinse off the brush, dry off a little bit of the water, and maybe I'll make a little bit of a shadow underneath the sailboat over here, like that. So a few sailboats, a couple figures. I'll take a little bit of the white again that has a little bit of orange in the top of the tube of paint, and I'll get a little bit of that white, and just maybe we'll put a couple little dots of light on our figures, just so maybe we could put a little bit of sunlight. Maybe there's a little bit of sun peeking through the clouds, so we'll put some light on top of the shoulders and the heads of the figures. Just that little subtle bit of light there is a big help. And maybe there's some more light here for our sailboat here. And then maybe that little bit of shadowing underneath that sailboat here, the larger sailboat. Like this, a little bit of shadowing under there, like that. And that is it. We don't want to go with too many details or get ourselves in trouble by going with too much, but beautiful work, everyone. And we're going to come back for another beautiful painting very, very soon. I'm glad you joined along. Again, I always hope you're going to thumbs up if you like this video. Please leave comments in the comments section on your thoughts on the new colors we're using. And again, these are just wonderful, beautiful colors by Winsor & Newton. And I'm trying them out, and I'm going to keep this palette in some plastic. And then every once in a while, I'm going to create some paintings like this where I'm going to use these colors and kind of, it'll help me to kind of key in on what the old masters were using for their paintings when they were painting, you know, many years ago. And hopefully we can recreate some of that magic that they had in their paintings. That would be a real beautiful goal to have. Okay, so we'll see you soon, and happy painting, everybody.